I sank into the void. Time is frozen in its infinity. Suddenly, something separates from the nothingness. The part slowly slips from the grasp of darkness and plummets downward, toward the marble checkerboard floor of awareness. It shatters to pieces. An impression of glassy degradation. Lights spatter and scatter. Time freezes in perplexity. Tiny shards of reality litter the vastness of not knowing. I feel irritation. They say the body begins to ache to feel it's there at all. We need pain and proof of the pain to begin to use ourselves as intended. Eyes fixed on the light do not see. Ears muffled by silence do not hear. The vibration of vocal cords is frozen in the tense anticipation of a silent cry. The body numbed by the light vibration of the speechless silence, shifting perspective, its lining turned outward. Shards of glass reflect the scattered mentality. They gather in the puzzle box. One of them stings me to blood. The drops pooling on the wrinkled furrows of my finger remind me of the illusion of time unfolding in the spiral of my own manifestation. The pain creates me and makes me whole, feeling real. I continue to gather myself in the timelessness of numb silence. I search for an arrangement of puzzle pieces unknown as assembly and construction. I search for myself. I understand that each piece has its place, speaks to me and shines with me and within itself. With great devotion and gratitude to this, I gather myself. I marvel at the beauty. I look around. Thousands of unique 3 dimensions emerge from their own numb silence. Some help their mirrored selves come together, for us to merge into the wholeness of everything that is. Nothingness experiences itself through the reflection of thousands of unique glass shards completing into a whole. And then I realized. Each shard reflected the nothingness, a numb vibration of the speechless silence that gave birth to the light in which the glass shards discover and experience themselves, containing the whole. For the structuring of all things is required just a cupped hand of elementary particles. On the outside, atoms are like the planets rolling around the sun. In the atomic center, there is a nucleus, which we used to believe was built up of protons and neutrons. And it really is, but deep inside it, there are things called quarks. There are two types of quarks, upward and downward, and that's it. Upward and downward quark link together in different ways from the atomic nucleus. If we add an electron, we obtain an atom. Then we throw in a neutrino obtained by a radioactive dissociate, and so we receive the basic particles of everything you see around. There are also photons of light, you see them now, and that's it. Most of the atoms in our body are made of nucleus and electrons. The nucleus is built of protons and neutrons, and the protons and neutrons of quarks. Of course, you'll ask, what are the quarks built of? And here we reach a blind alley. In the last 40 to 50 years, we tried to find what are quarks made of, and we reached the same result as for the electrons. There's nothing. Quarks don't have a size. The radius of a quark is 0. Take a look at an atom. We think of it as a kind of hard ball. Then we say, oh well, not really. It's this little tiny point of really dense matter right at the center, surrounded by a kind of fluffy probability cloud of electrons popping in and out of existence. But then it turns out that's not even right. Even the nucleus, which we think of as so dense, pops in and out of existence just as readily as the electrons do. The most solid thing you can say about all this insubstantial matter is that it's more like a thought. It's like a concentrated bit of information. What makes up things are not more things. But what makes up things are ideas, concepts, information.
In the instant of infinity, knowledge, frozen in the nothingness of stillness, was unmanifest, hushed in the infinity of the instant. An eternity commensurate with the time. Immensity gathered in the nothingness. Potential without manifestation, indeterminacy in rest. Thought, striving in the stillness, reveals the nothing into the something. Indeterminacy flows into determinacy. The stillness stretches in motion, space, and time. An expansion defined in the whole. An emptiness that fills eternity with content. Rest and motion, states of the limit. Probabilities of knowledge manifested in a unified duality. Thinking created from opposition. Nothing and something, 0 and 1, in the infinite cycle of eternity. Indeterminacy driven by thinking. Thinking that creates a vast world of possibilities. All that is mind. a world generated by mentality, thinking from existence and existence from thinking, paradox reconciling within itself, an infinite potential of unified opposition, nothingness that has transformed itself into everything that is.
Masaki Sano is a professor of physics at the University of Tokyo. In 2010, Japanese scientists led by Masaki Sano succeeded in converting information into energy and vice versa. Even the coefficient of this conversion was discovered. 1 bit of information is equal to 3.10 minus 21 joules of energy.
Let's think for a minute with theory of cogitality. One manifestation has two possible simultaneous states: nothing, unmanifested, information at rest, state 0. Something, manifested information in motion, state 1. These two states form a space of 4 possible probabilities. While choice is absent, both states are equally possible. Practical application. Example. State 0. I am thinking. Idea. State 1. I am doing. Action. Probability 1. I am not thinking. I am not doing. No manifestation. Probability 2. I am not thinking. I am doing. Again, no manifestation. Probability 3. I am thinking. I am not doing. No manifestation. Probability 4. I am thinking. I am doing. Occurrence of manifestation.
The combinations between 0 and 1 are the possible probabilities of manifestation and development of an element. be it a symbol, text, or color. Increasing these combination enables the discovery of pictures and frames of different quality. This is the world that is being created. The more combinations between 0 and 1 are discovered, developed, and applied in the exploration of the combinations themselves, the more possibilities for realization manifest, and the more beautiful and developed the world becomes to each element of everything that is. The number of applied combinations is directly proportional to the possibilities each element has. The application of these combinations leads to the discovery and appearance of new combinations. These are new possibilities for a new, different, gracious, and grateful world. The important thing is to make choices. This is how the cycle of existence is realized. Choices are made, explored, and changed, unfolding to new combinations ad infinitum. They're explored as they are experienced, to be recreated as a new world in the infinity of everything that is.
In 2011, Swedish scientists at Chalmers University of Technology proved that flickering mirrors create light from nothingness. During the experiment, the specialist managed to capture photons that continuously appear and disappear in the vacuum. The project leader, Per Delsing, states that when the mirror vibrates at high frequencies, the photons emerge in pairs from the vacuum, which effect was measured in the form of microwave radiation.
In a high-frequency vibration in the vacuum, a pair of photons are manifested. The peculiarity here is that one photon possesses a spin, rotation, to the left and the other to the right. One can say that this is one manifestation of energy with two states. A wave with spin to the left and a wave with spin to the right.
Let's think for a minute with theory of cogitality. The photons manifesting from the vacuum are realized in two aspects. Aspect 1. A pair of photons which has no direction flares and returns back to the vacuum, the potential of nothingness. The multiplicity of such pairs of photons forms the so-called quantum soup, vacuum fluctuations. Thus, the vacuum is not an emptiness, but boiling energy without direction. Aspect 2. A pair of photons that has a direction appears as a diffraction grating in which an individual spacetime hypersphere, a constraint from the whole, is present. The diffraction grating is the basis for realizing a manifestation.
The pair of photons spread apart in the vacuum due to the presence of a lateral force of the light.
In 2009, Hong Tang experimentally identified the repulsive effect of two light bundles with different phases. A lateral force of light is observed between the two bundles. The bundles become separated. Nothingness is stretched into something that is a moving energy with the presence of space and time.
Any vibration other than stillness appears as high frequency to stillness itself. Thus, every act of thinking, every choice, evokes in the vacuum a boiling energy of flashing and retracting photons. With a directed motion of the energy, action itself, the stretched spacetime forms a hypersphere that contains the act of thinking and action as crossed impulses. This interaction forms a diffraction grating, which appears as the basis for manifestation. This process is called transmutation.
Transmutation is the basis of existence, of creating, of the creation of everything that is. It is important to understand that everyone creates their own reality. Each choice is individual, unique, and singular. Therefore, the impulse of the choice also stretches individual space-time. The stretched space-time is a hypersphere, a sphere with 3 centers, 3 coordinate systems, and a total of 9 frequencies. The first center and its coordinate system are related to the act of thinking itself. This choice represents the desire to experience a particular limitation, manifestation. Thus, the coordinate system of the choice or the act of thinking has 3 directions: act of thinking, manifestation, experience. The second center is related to the photon rotating to the right. Its coordinate system defines a state we call past. This state is represented as a coordinate system with 3 directions, 3 frequencies: memory and forgetting, comparison, evaluation and reflection, logic and reasoning. The third center is related to the photon rotating to the left. Its coordinate system defines a state we call future. This state is again a coordinate system with 3 directions, 3 frequencies: acceptance, learning and development, elevation, and going outside the zone of the limitation, which is the choice itself. This is the so-called continuity and the cycle of endless development.
From the infinite range of frequencies available, but not manifested in the potential, certain vibrations that are desired to be explored and experienced are limited by the choice. In the process of exploring the limited frame of the choice, each element experiences itself in its interaction with its environment as motion and oscillation. Thus, it becomes clear that the choice manifests a stretched space-time that contains both the element and its entire environment associated with that choice. The vibration of the act of thinking stretches space-time, and nothingness is transmuted into a flickering world of energy. The whole world is vibration. The all is mind. Everything is flickering. Everything is vibrating.
Energy is the ability of a system to change. This ability is directly dependent on the amount of information that is fed into or emitted from the system itself. Each choice adds to the information potential through exploration, called experience, and excites a further impulse for new exploration. Thus, energy is transformed as a result of received and transmitted information. The elements in everything that is interact precisely through the reception and emission of this information. Thus, the world is information in motion, taking into itself the infinite cycle of existence. The choice manifests an image that is experienced in order to be chosen again. The energy is always one. The high-frequency vibrations oscillate so rapidly and densely that they become a dense low-frequency wave. The same and the different are one and the same. This is how the cycle of energy is realized. All forms of this energy, however different they may appear, are the result of a single choice. There is always only one choice. Once triggered, this choice is self-excited into an eternity commensurate with the time.
The choices and experiences of all elements in a system create a mental field around the system itself. This field simultaneously helps to protect and adapt. For protection, because it contains the experienced frequency of vibrations, and for adaptation, because it sets the new choices of the elements themselves. Thus, a continuity is formed that creates the illusion of development. Every system contains such a field. This field is known as an egregore, which means guardian. Psychologist Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. Nikola Tesla defines it as a mental field, a source of infinite energy. And the Russian scientist Vladimir Vernadsky called it the new sphere as early as 1903. Recent discoveries by the spacecrafts Voyager 1 and 2 prove the existence of a field around both Earth and the solar system. Researchers call it the heliosphere. In principle, this field is also present for the entire galaxy, for clustered galaxy systems, and for the entire universe. As already mentioned, the choices and experiences of all the elements create the new sphere. For the realization of the respective choice to exist, each element must accept the laws and rules of the whole system. Then the general rules and all automated processes will in principle be embedded in the frequencies of its choice. In practice, it appears that each element creates the whole universe, and the whole universe affects and creates the element itself. The part contains the whole, and the whole is contained in the part. Then, each unique choice stretches out an individual space-time with common laws of existence and principles of development included in it. Put another way, each element in the source of everything that is.
Let's think for a minute with the theory of cogitality. This field contains all choices and experiences. It also sets the basic rules for the existence and functioning of each system. It collects in itself all laws and processes which realize the choice of every element. This means that this field also contains all automated processes. Thus, the element, the limitation, focuses on the choice and the experience of that choice. Interaction processes such as gravity, radiation, absorption and reflection of energy, breathing, blood pressure, cell functioning, and so on are automatically set for every element. This model, set by each element, but containing the laws and the principles of all elements, is called Unified Personal Global Responsibility.
In summary, the Unified Personal Global Responsibility, abbreviated UPGR, contains all choices and experiences which also contain the basic rules of manifestation. The automated processes for the existence of the limitation itself. The UPGR also contains the choice of each element of the system. Thus, the Unified Personal Global Responsibility contains the transmutation itself, the individually stretched space-time of each element of everything that is. In UPGR, we have again three centers. Center of the manifestation, containing the choice, the manifestation, and the experience. Center, reality grid, containing the laws of existence and the principles of development of the entire universe. These are the parameters of the individually stretched space-time, synchronized with the common rules of interaction in everything that is. Center, egregore, the local field responsible for the realization of the choice of the manifestation itself, limitation.
In examining this energy cycle, it is necessary to note the third element, which is very important in the creation of the world in relation to the choice that is made. It is necessary to remember that each element explores a limited area of the infinite frequencies, which we call an individual limitation. By itself, this limitation could not realize its choice if the environment were missing. Thus, it follows that in order to experience not knowing, each limitation needs to create an environment in its own image to realize the choice. Therefore, reflections are created as the environment, but the element itself is a reflection of the reflections it creates. In this way, the cycle of interaction between the limitation and its reflected environment, everything that is completed. As a result of the encounter between the element and its reflections, a vibration arises which we know as emotion. A hypersphere of 3 centers is formed with 3 coordinate systems. We call this process personal individual responsibility. The first center and its coordinate system are related to the element itself. It is a hologram that has made a choice to explore a particular experience. This experience contains within itself a partial knowledge of the choice, the known I am. The coordinate system of this center has 3 directions: memory and forgetting, the possibility of going outside the frame, and free will to make choices. The second center is related to the environment. This is a set of reflections assisting the choice of the hologram itself. The reflections represent frequency vibrations that the element has not come to know, the unknown self, everything outside the known limitation. The coordinate system of this center also has 3 directions: reception and reflection, comparison and evaluation, learning and development. The third center is the interaction between the element and its environment. Its coordinate system defines states that oscillate in 3 directions: emotion, given meaning, change. In summary, personal individual responsibility is the ability to consciously create our parallel reality. In this process, 2 directions manifest: creating for the known self, called inward direction, and unfolding to everything that is, called outward direction.
Transmutation, unified personal global responsibility, and personal individual responsibility are the 3 directions of the hypersphere that stretched spacetime due to the individual choice. This is the trinity and the simultaneity of the creation. This loop is the cycle of infinite existence. We exist, and this is unchangeable. Everything is in the simultaneity of here and now. All is mind, the world is mental and fractal. What we emit is what is reflected in response. Everything changes, except the first 4 laws.
The 5 laws of existence are based on several infinite constants related to energy, oscillation, frequency, gravity, velocity, and unfolding to reach the limitation, as well as the allowable range for unfolding beyond its limited boundaries. These are factors of rotation, harmony, development, and elevation valid for the chosen system. Pi is a constant, giving information about the explored path to the possibilities associated with gravity and light. This constant also gives information about the stretched spacetime. Phi is a constant associated with the allowable values of the jump to the unknown, the unfamiliar for the chosen limitation. These values correspond to the harmonic interaction between the limitation and the environment. The admission and allowance for the jump to the unknown are carried out by the limitation itself, since it also creates its own environment. E is a constant, giving information about the velocity and unfolding when reaching the chosen limitation. It is also related to gravity and light. The three constants are linked in a unique quadratic equation that is the basis of the laws of existence and the principles of development. Through it is possible to find solutions for the states of any limitation, the discovery of new elements, and even the calculation of the speed of light and gravity.
The stretching of spacetime is up to the individual choice. This choice does not create the whole, but is localized on one polarity. At the same time, the other polarity continues to exist. Only the focus determines the nature of the result. If there is no focus, everything remains possible as potential in the source, that is, nothing happens and there is no manifestation. For us to exist, a choice is always necessary. Every limitation in the presence of a choice creates reflections in its own image and likeness, which become its environment. They support the exploration of the very choice of this limitation. The limitation itself appears as a reflection of the reflection it creates. Thus, it appears that everyone creates his own reality and is in constant relationship with every element of everything that is. Everyone is everything, and everything is everyone.
The choice defines a hypersphere, which is a stretched space-time with enormous gravity, focused on the closest probabilities of realizing that choice within the limitation itself. One could say that this is the core of the choice. The unfamiliar, the unknown that would solve all the challenges of this choice, appears to be the environment, the cloud of probabilities of the gravitational focus. Thus, an atom is formed related to the choice and its possible solutions. Therefore, every challenge of the choice can be solved outside the level of its causation. Thus, the outward direction is an elevation, resolving all paradoxes of existence.
The choice determines a stretching of spacetime, with a diffraction grating forming between the pair of photons, which is in practice an interference pattern of their interaction. This grating is in constant rotation and motion. In this process, vacuum fluctuations are sucked up from the potential, and their energy flows through the grating. It diffracts there and turns with the lining inside out. What was on the outside turns out to be on the inside, and the energy on the inside puts on the information on the outside. Information portions of energy are formed, enclosed in a gravitational field. Thus, energy from a constant flow is transformed into portions of information. These spheres are called fullerenes. The identical gravitational field with which they are enveloped repels them from each other, just like magnets with identical poles. Moreover, the closer the fullerenes are, the stronger the repulsion between them. This creates the illusion of separation of the elements as matter. At the same time, the moving away of the elements leads to gravitational attraction, which arranges them in a specific way. This is a principle of the formation of matter and individual parallel reality.
Fullerenes, arranged in structure, make up what is called DNA, which is a record of portions of information encoded in concentrated forms called chromosomes. Thus, chromosomes contain information about the choice, automated processes, and interactions with the environment. Inside the cell are also the mitochondria, the body's powerhouses floating in a watery environment. When the water passes through the mitochondrial membrane, it is broken down into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen is absorbed by the body cells, and the hydrogen passes into the structure of the mitochondrion. The hydrogen proton, containing the choice of delimitation, absorbs the information from the mitochondrial DNA that contains the entire base for all automated processes in the UPGR. When the proton is exchanged with the iron depots from the blood system, it forms a proton field. Simultaneously, the iron accelerates the hydrogen electron. The result is a small power plant producing an enormous amount of energy. This energy is called adenosine triphosphate. Thus, water, having a memory of the interactions between an individual and its environment, gives its energy to the development of a system while preserving its choice.
The generated proton field in the blood vessels enables the so-called laminar flow of blood. This is the absence of friction between blood and the circulatory system. The proton field itself is gravitational energy moving at 3 times the speed of light. The accelerated protons, containing the entire choice and automated processes, leave the system when circulatory highways are reversed. This happens mainly in the limbs and eyes. The emitted proton field in the nothingness contains all the information about the individual's desired reality. Around this gravitational field, there are also concentrated probabilities supporting this choice. Thus, each observer constructs his or her own individual parallel reality with an infinite number of possibilities that provide the specific focused gravitational choice. Due to the difference in speeds between gravity and light, the construction of reality is 3 times faster than the observer's ability to see it. Thus, the observer perceives his or her constructed reality as created a priori. All the elements in this environment also create their own realities. What they have in common are the laws and principles of development contained in the automated processes of the UPGR. Thus, it appears that each limitation creates reflections in its own image, but it itself is a reflection of the reflections it creates. This common sharing and agreement between the elements we call world. A world that we experience in order to explore and synchronize our own choices.
The synchronization between the limitation, the information in stillness, and the environment is activated through the pineal gland. This gland plays the role of a relay switch to activate the limitation as an individuality on the one hand, and to receive information from the potential on the other hand. The first mode is associated with switching on to the claustrum and prefrontal cortex. This is the filtration, creating the illusion of limited individuality and experience of interaction with the environment. The second mode is switching to the part of the midbrain containing the substantia nigra. This substance is like an antenna receiver of data from the field of the potential. The information is transmitted through the same substantia nigra, a liquid magnetic field that resembles plasma and is emitted from objects known as magnetars. Since the summer of 2014, academician Valentina Mironova has observed that the substantia nigra in everyone's brain began to glow in sync with the magnetar. The received information, converted as electromagnetic impulses, is interpreted by the pineal gland. This is the ability to see without looking, which corresponds to states such as meditation, regression, dreams, intuition, telepathy, and others. The pineal gland is the only part of the brain that does not have a cerebral cortex. In other words, it lacks filtration. Filtration is a ready-made interference pattern that is added to the diffraction grating at every moment, at every choice or interaction. This pattern has been worked on repeatedly, and the neural network in the brain at these locations is as if welded together. Thus, whatever impulse is given uses these ready circuits to adapt to a situation or event. Change requires breaking the weld, freeing the neuron, and the possibility of choosing another neural connection. This process is called dendritogenesis. Only then is a new adaptive focus possible to bring about change. Let's think for a minute with the theory of cogitality. The two modes of operation of the pineal gland are as follows. Mode 1. One circuit is connected to the claustrum and prefrontal cortex, where all the filtration for adaptation to the environment is located. It is activated when light passes through the eye, causing the pineal gland to contract and squeeze the calcium grain. This piezocrystalline effect turns on the circuit and filtration is triggered. It is the stored interference patterns, reactions of interactions, given meanings and experiences from the individual's exploration. During this process of active filtration, the other circuit that provides information for the solution of any given challenge is usually turned off. Mode 2. The second circuit is related to the substantia nigra and the information potential. Obtaining information that is outside the boundary of the limitation is being triggered. This supports the individual choice without filtration being involved. This mode gives an expanded frequency characteristic of information beyond the limits of individual experience. Note, there are techniques and methodologies that allow both modes to be activated simultaneously. This is achieved with training.
This training is an application of the laws of physics with respect to light and gravity. They involve the hypersphere, which is a plasma orb of the chosen energy. As it moves along the spine, an electromagnetic field is activated that swirls all frequencies. The frequencies are an effect and a cause in the interaction with the environment built by the limitation. In the plasma orb, cause and effect are in the simultaneity of here and now. In relation to the manifested element, within the cerebrospinal fluid, Cause and effect unfold as stretched spacetime. This process brings together present, past, and future as interwoven functions in a common frequency characteristic. The effects of all interactions with the environment are also involved in this process. These are the memory of the past, the experiences, the emotional states, and the given meanings of the individual. An important point is given meanings, information that is accepted as true even though it lacks lived experience. At the same time, stored as memory and rules, the given meanings are accepted as lived experience. Thus, they add additional frequencies, interference patterns, to the plasma diffraction grating that create the illusion of true experience in lived states. In this way, the frequencies that result from emotional and sensory interactions become intertwined with those of the given meanings and become indistinguishable from one another. This process forms energy limiters, rings, more commonly known as chakras. It is the free will of the individual to determine the flow of energy for their interaction with everything that is. There is a forward and backward connection between thinking, shaping of the environment, outcomes of interaction with the environment, and the choice to change the environment itself. It is an endless cycle of interaction creating the illusion called life. The energy flow explained so far does not include the choice itself. The choice represents a further stretching of space-time in both directions simultaneously. A new electromagnetic flux is formed, wider than the previous one. This is development and change. The two electromagnetic fluxes carry out a mutual induction that further amplifies and loops this process again. The result is a self-powered, self-excited, and self-sustaining energy cycle. It also activates the 8 original stem cells found in the sacral bone. They're responsible for the formation and construction of the entire hologram. When this cycle is pure, with an outward direction, the organism is a self-healing mechanism.
Synchronization is a symphony of the universe in tune with every element of everything that is. An unfolded, gratefully devoted world of interaction between source, limitation, and parallel reality. An infinite cycle of existence. Let's think for a minute with the theory of cogitality. The synchronization between the pineal gland, source, and filtration can be achieved consciously by simultaneously activating both reception modes. This is accomplished through meditation, which turns off the first mode but triggers the energy flow throughout the hologram. An existing but forgotten automated process is activated. It transforms into filtration and becomes a part of the exploration of the choice that has been made. The limitation synchronizes itself with everything that is and experiences the harmony of that interaction.
Meditation is a complete synchronization of all the energy that makes us up. It includes both the individuality limitation and the whole environment, the whole universe. So during meditation, it is good to imagine the physics of things. Meditation is not mysticism, but the physics of electromagnetic and gravitational fields. First, we take our old choice, the plasma orb we have built so far. We move it through the body along the spine to synchronize it with the hologram itself. To it, we add our desire for change, the new choice. This is an unfolded spacetime with two new photons moving simultaneously in both directions. This new hypersphere has an outward direction to solve the challenges of the old choice. The grating, formed by the interaction of the photons, we synchronize with the hologram. To these vibrations, we add the frequencies from the environment, the experienced oscillation of logic, thinking, and reasoning, and the emotional states from the interactions. Completing the process brings together the space and time parameters. This happens by merging the electromagnetic fluxes for past, future, and space. The beam behind is past, and the electromagnetic fluxes overhead are future. We bring the two fluxes together to merge them into the simultaneity of now. In terms of space, the beam in front of us is the new, which is based on the old, the channel below us. We interweave these two fluxes, and so we achieve continuity. We use the experience to create the new desire that is before us. Passing through the portal to the energy world validates our decision to receive more information, to open ourselves to more possibilities. Having reached the state of total synchronization, where space-time is absent and everything is unified energy, it is possible to call forth and receive information about any manifested element. This is regardless of the element, small or large, known or unknown, event or situation, all is one unified energy. The addition of frequencies unfolds our possibilities and carries with it the responsibility to experience these vibrations. Therefore, it is good to ask positively formulated questions before or during meditation, seeking answers with an outward direction to everything that is.
Each element of everything that is built its own unique, individual parallel reality. At the moment of the choice, a static frame is defined around which probable sequence of frames appear to fill the stretched space-time. The choice is always in the now moment. The probable sequences are assigned to experienced past and unrealized future, respectively. This creates the illusion of the development of the element itself and its parallel reality. When another frame is chosen, again, other parallel realities are arranged corresponding to past and future. The environment follows these choices, both for the moment now and for the illusory stretched space-time. That is, if there is a continuity of the choices of the element, then a similar continuity exists for the frames of past and future.
Each frame is carried out in the moment now, which is a temporal characteristic of the source itself. Thus, an arbitrary frame from the past or future is also carried out now. Thus, every frame, which is a choice, is made in the temporal characteristic now. The result is a fractal repetition of every moment of now, whether we're talking about the future, the past, or the present. This is also the infinite continuous connection to the source. Each element makes its own individual and unique choices that are always in oneness with the timing of the source. Each frame is static, unique, and unrepeatable. The illusion of space and time comes from the virtual notion of their stretching, but the frames are always static. The mental exploration of the stretched frames of past, present, and future creates the illusion of movement. This combination is dependent on the choice within the hypersphere itself. It is necessary to emphasize that the parallel realities of each element for each moment of its exploration are quite different. Their unification is due to the use of the temporal characteristic now of the source. Thus, the static frames of past, present, and future of one element and the frames of all other elements appear interconnected. But this is only an illusion, a wonderful illusion of creation.
Time, space, and all elements of everything that is are one infinite, interflowing energy. Information silenced into the nothingness of stillness. Time hurried to infinity in the instant moment now. One energy that divides itself into polarities, appearing to be a paradoxical contradiction. One energy that remains whole at the same time, separated into itself but whole. Positive but self-denying, missingly existing. Regardless of the paradoxes of apparent separation, it remains itself in the unity and simultaneity of everything that is. Where all is one, and one is all. All paradoxes may be reconciled.
puzzle pieces scattered in the vastness. Gathered with inspiration, devotion, and faith in a wave symbiosis of black and white called life. A combination of frequencies that make up our own individuality, oscillations that are an environment, a galaxy, a cosmos. A starry sea stirring in the light of the double helix of love and creation. A fragment of the whole that is eternal. A chess game with 8 basic principles alternating between black and white. 8 by 8, infinity by infinity. On the board of parallel realities created by ourselves. A game entering the vast dimensions of everything that is. A game about the unknown of the challenge in the individual emotion of the present. A unified, infinite puzzle of possibilities, choices, and probabilities in the space of the whole. A boundless portal of possibilities of each pawn, of each element, containing the spattered and scattered lights in an impression of glassy construction of infinity. In the eyes, having accepted the light, begin to see. The ears, filled with silence, hear the vibration of striving to create. A parallel reality of one's own choice in the infinity of paradoxes. Reconciled, you know yourself, so you can be.